So it seems that the contents have been revealed for the new Space Wolves Combat Patrol box, and it looks like it's a rather good one. Let's talk about the miniatures inside, roughly what they do in game, and how it stacks up as an ongoing discount deal for the Sons of Russ. Hello and welcome back to Warspecs Tactics, where today we're talking Space Wolves once more, and in this video I thought we'd take a look over the new Space Wolves Combat Patrol box set, images of which have been shared around the internet coming from the new codex. Seems that Games Workshop's never-ending stream of leaks are just keeping coming, and the latest thing that we've found out about is the upcoming Space Wolves Combat Patrol box set, and I guess this will be the discount deal that sticks around for the Space Wolves after the big Army launch box set has been and gone. The reveal has come from someone posting pictures of the codex once more, and in 10th edition new codexes feature pictures of the newly redesigned Combat Patrol, along with rules for playing them in-game. The Space Wolf one is called Askar's Wolf Pack, and we now know the contents of it, and as a perhaps surprise positive, it looks like 3 out of the 4 kits in it are new Space Wolf kits, and the remaining one is an existing Elite Infantry. For once they seem to have not diluted a divergent chapter Combat Patrol with more generic Space Marine miniatures. I think it's fairly helpful to know this one's coming for people who might want to plan purchases around the Space Wolf box set, whether they're getting the army set or not, for example, and to plan purchases for other kits beyond that. Bear in mind that this one's probably a fair while out though. Usually the main release wave tends to be around about 4 to 8 weeks behind an army set coming out, and then sometimes the Combat Patrol box itself is held back another 1 to 4 weeks. I feel like this one might be, given that there's the Terminators in it, and usually if there's a new kit coming out in the Combat Patrol, that seems to be an excuse to hold it back to encourage individual sales, I suppose. As we know, the Space Wolf box set is coming out this weekend. If you are looking to pick that one up and support the channel while doing so, the channel's affiliate discount retailers are linked down in the video description. These will be the times when it goes live around the world. Fingers crossed Games Workshop makes enough stock. At the end of the video, I'll also mention the channel's June giveaway as well. This one's a big one for 5 people to get a custom 40k army up to £250 or $430. If you'd like to enter for that one, there's both a paid way and a free way to enter, so check back at the end if you'd like to enter for that. Let's get on to the subject at hand though, which is the new Space Wolves Combat Patrol box set. The likely pricing for this one will be $170, £100 or €130, as that's what all the rest are. Unless Games Workshop managed to fit in a crafty price rise before then, though I'm sort of wondering if we might have got away with a year without their inflation price rise things, which would be quite nice if so. In any case, in the box set there's the new Battle Leader, the flexible one that's got a choice of different war gear, 10 Blood Claws, the young impetuous Space Wolves, a squad of 5 Savage Devolved Wolfen, and then perhaps the biggest winner of the box set is a set of the 5 new Wolfguard Terminators, great big hulking Space Wolf elites with a lot of theme. Just on first impressions, this one feels like a pretty big update and a big upgrade compared with the previous one that they had. Going through the kits included for this one, first up we have the Blood Claws. Space Wolves both had their Blood Claws and Grey Hunters redone for this new model range. Fairly standardish Primaris, but with a bunch of new wolf trinkets, a few different armor plate segments, and some fairly dynamic running poses, and they'll first be out in the Space Wolf Army box set this weekend. The Blood Claws are a battle line unit that you can either field in 10s or 20s. They move fast at 7 inches, have a bunch of OC, and then mainly hit with a massive amount of chainsaw attacks, all at strength 4, AP 1, damage 1. The Sergeant can take a plasma pistol and power weapon. Their inbuilt datasheet rule is to advance and charge, but they wouldn't get the, say, wound rerolls that Assault Intercessors get, and they look like they'd be a fairly similar unit otherwise. It looks like it'd just be Space Wolf unique characters that can join them and vice versa, so not being led by more generic Space Marine picks, just the things in the codex it would seem. I guess there'll be rivals for Wolfguard head takers for that kind of role if you wanted a danger unit, otherwise they're going to be a bit of a chaff clearance style unit. Next up we've got the Wolfguard Battle Leader. This one's quite a fun and flexible kit, a generic Space Wolf hero that you can either equip with a Thunderhammer or Power Sword. There's 3 different head swaps that you can pick here, and then you can either choose to give him a Storm Shield or a Plasma Pistol in the main hands to back that up. For a generic character sculpt for the army with a bit of flexibility, I think they've done a pretty good job there. His buffs are to give his unit sustained hits 1 and reroll hit rolls of 1, at least when you're targeting something up close, and overall that's a pretty decent damage buff. Next up we have the Savage Wolfen, an older Space Wolf kit with a sort of semi-devolved Space Wolves who are halfway to becoming werewolves. I feel like compared with a lot of sculpts they divide opinions quite a bit more. Some people like them, though some really don't. I guess there's always going to be a bit of weirdness when you're trying to make something that's halfway between Space Marine and Werewolf, and choosing how to realise that. For their war gear options, they can either choose Wolfen Hammers with Strength 5, Damage 3, and a bunch of anti-keywords, and they get those paired with Storm Shields. Otherwise, their Claw and Axes loadout gives you a bunch of attacks at Strength 5, AP 2, Damage 2 with sustained hits, and it looks like they've got different data sheets, and it's possible that the non-hammer one might be a little bit cheaper now. They will be able to get some OC if they're near characters apparently now, and they've had some stat line changes. I feel like overall improved really, with a toughness 6 and a 9-inch move to make them a little bit more durable and get there faster. Finally, and perhaps in my opinion, the best bit of the box set are the Wolfguard Terminators. 5 miniatures here with the new upscale Terminators but done Space Wolf style. Generally these guys were pretty well received with a whole bunch of personality and all manner of fancy facial hair on show. The main option is a power weapon between a sword and an axe that strikes at a damage 2 profile. One can take an assault cannon, and otherwise they have to choose between a storm bolter and storm shield, so either having 4 wounds or having a bit of a shooting attack. The pack leader gets a boosted profile with that big axe or lightning claws. Their datasheet rule gives them a -1 to wound when they're targeted by something where their strength is greater than their toughness, and they move a little bit faster than standard Terminators, as with the rest of Space Wolves, getting to move 6 inches. For points in the box, it's probably not going to be super clear until we hear about Games Workshop's digital points drops. Generally the points in the codex tend to be wrong to a greater or lesser degree. So just on pure estimations, the Wolfguard Battle Leader might be around about 80 points. It seems like he's got a bit more in common with a captain than a lieutenant, though maybe he'll be a bit less than that. The Bloodclaws pre-codex were 140 points, the Wolfen were 95 points, and then the Wolfguard Terminators were 185. If all of those stay at least somewhat close to that level, then maybe they'll be around about 500 points in the box, and if that's so, then that's quite a nice return to form to making combat patrols that level of points as they used to be. Again, it feels like it's one of the ones on the better end of the 10th edition box sets. It seems that bar the Guard one, the ones in 2025 have done rather well in the general scheme of making them feel worth it. It'll be around about 3.1 points per dollar, which as Warhammer 40k goes is generally quite good. I guess having a 10-man Space Marine set and a Terminator set are both pretty good ones. They're both usually alright in terms of points for the money. For discount, again it'll be somewhat of an estimate, though we can just go by near equivalents from the generic Space Marines. As mentioned, the pricing of this should be £100 or $170 or €130. And here are the rough costs for what I'd estimate that these will be sold for separately. The Wolfguard Battle Leader may be $42. We know the Wolfen price at $62 or £40. The Bloodclaws look like they're at least a fairly simple kit, so I'd hope they might be somewhere around the $62.50 or £40 mark, the same as Intercessors or Incursors. And then for the Wolfguard Terminators, if they wind up being the same price as the regular Space Marine Terminators, that'd be $65 or £42. I guess Games Workshop might slap a bit of a premium on them, like the Deathwing Knights, for all we know at this point. I probably expect them to be that much or more expensive. Both the Terminators and the Bloodclaws could be a little bit more than I've guessed. In any case, putting it together, it looks like the total amount of miniatures in the box set are around $232. So whichever currency you're working in, that's around about a 27% discount. The ones in 10th edition have seemed to be around about the 30% kind of mark, so pretty well in line with Games Workshop's normal there. It's not a notably low one. It's not standout good on the discount side either though. The box set that it's replacing is this one, which is now off sale. The previous Space Wolf Combat Patrol box set was a very generic Primaris one, with a Wolfguard Battle Leader, 5 Reavers that you could field as Hounds of Morkai in the previous rule set, still not really sure why they decided to get rid of those, 10 Intercessors and an Invictus Tactical Warsuit. They also had 2 copies of the Space Wolves Upgrade Sprue, the fairly small and limited one for the Primaris set. There was many unique shoulder pads and then just a couple of special weapon options. From the discount from this one, it was around about 17% off if you didn't count the upgrades, maybe 28% if you did. I feel like counting upgrades feels a little bit weak though, given that they're just the bits that you more decorate the miniatures with, and you kind of hope would be on the frames anyway. In general, it was one of the less well received Combat Patrol box sets, certainly way more generic Space Marine than it was Space Wolf, and I feel like some of the kits had slightly niche appeal as well. Reavers maybe being Primaris Marines that people haven't been as excited about as some perhaps, and the Invictus Tactical Warsuit is nice enough, but maybe just a little bit on the niche side as a Scout Walker. By the numbers at least, it does look like the new one beats the old one on both metrics. Around about 500 points versus 430 is a big plus 16% win for the new one, and if discounting upgrade sprues, which as I said I do like to, the new one has a plus 13% win there. I think that'd still be a small win with the upgrade sprues technically, though I think I maybe am perhaps more overall impressed with the general feel of the new one. For just general impressions of the box set, models wise I think they've done well with this one. They are mostly completely new and well received plastic kits. They'll be looking pretty nice on the tabletop I think, and plenty of excitement for people who are looking to pick up the Terminators in particular. As mentioned, the Warhammer are slightly older kits and do divide opinion a bit more than the rest, but I feel like as an extra peripheral unit to go in the box set, there's a far better feel to them when they're alongside the cool Terminators and the standard battle line Blood Claws. They definitely add to the overall theme rather than detract from it. Gameplay wise, we won't really know power levels for the units given that it's pretty early days for the Codex so far. Final things are going to depend on points costs, and literally pretty much any unit in 40k could be good or bad with the right points cost attached to it. The Wolfguard Battle Leader looks like he's got pretty encouraging buffs that he can give to his units though. Wolfen are pretty focused damage and defensive units, so will likely be costed for that. Hopefully they manage to make the Wolfguard Terminators good, with their extra defensive rule and the potential for 4 wound Terminators. I feel like that's probably positive for them, but certainly more standard Loyalist Terminators haven't had a particularly good time of it in 10th edition so far. The Blood Claws are maybe a little bit unsure about as to whether or not they're going to beat out Assault Intercessors for the similar battlefield role, having very little threat against anything that's tough, getting no Power Fist, no inbuilt rerolls, and only being able to take in big squads of 10 really isn't a great combo overall for a utility objective skirmish unit. As a result, I'd kind of hope that their points cost will be really quite cheap. Value-wise, it feels like there's a fairly solid amount of elite models in the box set. The amount of points in it really makes it feel quite good on the solid chunk of your army kind of metric. The Terminators are quite a big win there with big fun elite models. I guess it does have a bit of overlap with the army box set with the Blood Claws and the Battle Leader. I still feel like you probably could get the army set on this one though. There's multiple ways to assemble the Battle Leader, and 20 Blood Claws don't seem out of the question, given that you could be fielding big units of 20 of them, I suppose. In general, 2 sets of a battle line unit doesn't tend to be the worst idea in the world though. In any case, let me know what you make of the box set. Do you think it's a good or bad one? Overall, I'll be pretty positive about it, though I'll be keen to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Finally, as mentioned briefly at the start, I'll just quickly cycle back to talk about the channel giveaway for the end of this one. And as mentioned, the one for June will have 5 winners to it, each of which getting a custom army for Warhammer 40k, up to the value of £250 or $430. Basically, I'll ask the winners what they want, you pick a combination of kits, and I'll send them out to you once I've ordered them in. For a few examples of what that might look like, here's a Tyranids one. I went for the 40k starter set here, so technically some free Space Marines thrown in, then a Hive Tyrant, Neurotyrant, Screamer Killer, Tyrannifex, and Death Leaper. Here's a Necron example, starting with their Combat Patrol, then going for a Ghost Ark to transport some Warriors, some Lich Guard, and then a Royal Court. Finally, here's a Dark Angels example, with their Combat Patrol for some Green Wing reinforcements and some nice Plasma goodness, and then some Fighting Elites with 2 sets of the Inner Circle Companions, some Deathwing Knights, and Lionel Johnson himself. If you want to go for Space Wolves though, I will happily wait until their kit's release if you'd like. In any case, to enter for this one, there's 2 options, links down in the video description. Either you can support the channel on Patreon for literally any paid amount. It's the main thing that's given me the stability to make this my full-time thing, so a massive thank you to anyone supporting there. Channel patrons get automatic entry each and every month. Otherwise, you can enter completely for free, and that's by supporting the channel via social media and boosting the algorithms. First up, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then like the Facebook page linked down in the video description. And then to actually enter the draw, it goes live on the 1st of June. A giveaway post appears at midnight on Facebook that day, and within the next 24 hours respond to the post with a picture of any 40k mini or imagery, and then with your name or a pseudonym and the date handwritten within the same photo to deter Facebook bots and spammers and make sure prizes go to real people. Then after the 24 hours is up, I lock the giveaway post, do the draw with a random number generator, everyone's entered just once regardless of how they entered, and I'll announce the results in the channel update video around the 4th of June. Models will be posted out after I've heard back from you guys and received my orders of them, of course. In any case, feel free to check them out. They'll be linked down in the video description if you'd like to enter either via Patreon or Facebook when the time comes. In any case, I'll leave that one there for now though. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to see more like this. Looks like we'll be having more Space Wolf videos in the near future. Hopefully it won't be so very long before I do the full Space Wolf Codex review video. If you'd like to see that, then subscribe to the channel, check out the Patreon page or those discount links down below if you'd like to support, but otherwise an enormous thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.